Brandon Calloway, the 19-year-old son of tech billionaire Richard Calloway, walks into Judge Judy's courtroom wearing a Gucci tracksuit worth $1,200 and a limited edition Rolex Daytona that costs more than most people's annual salary. Within 45 seconds of entering, he looks directly at Judge Judy with a smirk and says the words that will seal his fate, "You can't embarrass me." What happens next isn't just a court ruling. It's a masterclass in how the truth can destroy arrogance more effectively than any raised voice ever could, and why some people need to be shown exactly who they are before they can understand what they've become. Before we reveal how Judge Judy systematically dismantled this young man's ego piece by piece using nothing but facts and calm precision, I need you to hit that subscribe button right now because we're racing towards 600,000 subscribers. And this story about arrogance meeting accountability, about privilege colliding with reality, will show you why some people need to learn respect the hard way, not through anger, but through the devastating power of truth spoken calmly and without mercy. If this story makes you believe that entitled rich kids need reality checks, leave a comment below because by the end of this video, you'll understand why Brandon's own words became his worst enemy and why Judge Judy's response became legendary. Here's a question. When did confidence become confused with arrogance? When did young people start believing that their parents' money makes them untouchable? Because what happened to Brandon Calloway proves that the louder you boast about being unbreakable, the harder you fall when someone finally calls your bluff. This isn't just about a small claims case. This is about a young man who walked into court believing he was above embarrassment, above consequences, above the basic rules of human decency. And Judge Judy, without raising her voice once, without losing her composure for even a second, showed him and everyone watching that sometimes the most powerful weapon isn't anger. It's truth. Tuesday afternoon, 2:30 p.m., Judge Judy's courtroom in Los Angeles. The bailiff calls the case, Carroll vs. Calloway, case number 4782. The plaintiff, Daniel Carroll, stands at his podium wearing a borrowed suit that's slightly too big for his thin frame. Daniel is 19 years old, a community college student who works 2 jobs to pay his tuition at a Pizza Hut and as a weekend warehouse stalker at a local distribution center. He looks nervous, clutching a folder of documents against his chest, his other hand gripping the podium to steady himself. This is the first time Daniel has ever been in a courtroom, and you can see the weight of it on his shoulders, the way his hands tremble slightly as he organizes his papers. He's not here because he wants to be. He's here because he has no other choice. 6 months ago, his former best friend borrowed $2,850 from him and never paid it back. That money represented Daniel's entire savings account. It was supposed to cover his textbooks for the semester and 3 months of rent. Instead, it disappeared into the lifestyle of someone who never understood what money actually means to people who have to earn it. The defendant's side remains empty for several minutes. Judge Judy's eyes narrow slightly, that expression veterans recognize as someone about to learn an expensive lesson about respect. At 2:47 p.m., 17 minutes late, the courtroom door opens and Brandon Calloway strolls in like he's walking a red carpet. The off-white hoodie costs $890. The Balenciaga sneakers cost $1,200. The chrome hearts jewelry around his neck is worth $3,500. His hair is freshly styled from a $200 salon visit. Designer Cartier sunglasses worth $650 sit pushed up on his head like a crown. In his hand, his iPhone glows with notifications he's checking as he walks. He's chewing gum, and one AirPod remains in his left ear. Brandon doesn't acknowledge Daniel standing 15 feet away. He doesn't look at Judge Judy. He offers no apology for being late, no explanation. He simply leans against his podium with one hand in his pocket, his posture screaming that he's doing everyone a favor by showing up. Judge Judy has seen thousands of defendants, every type of arrogance, every shade of entitlement. But there's something about Brandon that makes the courtroom air change. It's not just the lateness or expensive clothes or the phone. It's the complete absence of awareness that he's in a court of law. It's the total lack of recognition that actions have consequences. Judge Judy watches him, her face completely neutral. She's done this long enough to know that some people reveal themselves immediately if you give them enough rope. Judge Judy's voice cuts through the courtroom with measured calm that anyone familiar with her show knows is more dangerous than anger. Mr. Calloway, good morning. Give me your full attention right now. Brandon doesn't look up from his phone, thumbs still typing away at something he considers urgent. Hang on, I'm finishing something important, he says without lifting his eyes, without any acknowledgement of disrespect. The words land like a bomb. Daniel flinches. The bailiff's eyebrows rise. An elderly woman in the gallery shakes her head. Judge Judy doesn't raise her voice. Mr. Calloway, put that phone away now or you'll watch this case from a jail cell. Brandon looks up and laughs. Relax, Your Honor, I'm just telling my boys about this circus. He slides the phone into his pocket with exaggerated slowness. His smirk never wavers. Judge Judy turns to Daniel with warmth that contrasts how she addressed Brandon. Mr. Carroll, please tell me why we're here today. Daniel takes a shaky breath and begins. His voice is quiet at first, nervous, but grows steadier as he explains. 6 months ago, Brandon called him in a panic at 11 p.m. on a Friday night. His Maserati had broken down on the Pacific Coast Highway. His father was on a business trip in Singapore. His credit cards were supposedly frozen due to some banking error he couldn't explain clearly. He needed $2,850 for the repair immediately or the towing and storage fees would keep climbing. Brandon actually begged, promising to pay Daniel back within 2 weeks maximum. I swear, bro, the second my dad gets back, the second those cards are unfrozen, you'll have your money plus interest for helping me out. Daniel trusted him completely. They'd been best friends since 7th grade, had grown up together, spent countless nights playing video games, talking about their futures, supporting each other. So Daniel went to the bank that Monday morning and withdrew his entire savings account. Every dollar he'd earned from his Pizza Hut shifts and his warehouse work. Money he'd been saving for textbooks, for rent, for emergencies. He transferred it to Brandon's Venmo account right there on the highway while Brandon's Maserati sat on the back of a tow truck. Daniel pulls out printed text messages, bank statements, Venmo receipts. The evidence is organized with the care of someone who can't afford lawyers. The messages show Brandon's promises. I got you bro, 2 weeks max. Then, sorry man, next Friday for sure. Then, my assistant is handling it, should hit Monday. The promises stretched across months. The tone shifted from apologetic to annoyed that Daniel kept asking. 3 months ago, Brandon blocked Daniel on everything. Phone, social media, email. Daniel tried Brandon's fraternity house. Security turned him away. He tried contacting Brandon's father's company. Assistant said Mr. Calloway doesn't handle his son's personal matters. Daniel was out $2,850 with no way to recover it. That money was supposed to last the semester. Instead, he dropped a class because he couldn't afford the textbook. He fell behind on rent, picked up extra shifts, had less time for studying. His grades suffered. His life was thrown into chaos because his best friend decided $2,850 wasn't worth keeping his word. Brandon barely glances at the evidence Daniel presents. While Judge Judy examines the documents carefully, Brandon checks his expensive watch, a gesture everyone in the courtroom notices and judges him for. He shifts his weight from foot to foot like a bored child waiting for permission to leave class. When Judge Judy finally looks up from the papers, her expression is unreadable, which somehow makes the tension worse. Mr. Calloway, Mr. Carroll has provided substantial evidence of this loan. Text messages where you promised repayment, bank records showing the transfer, Venmo receipts with your account clearly identified. Do you dispute that you received this money? Brandon shrugs, his hand moving automatically toward his pocket where his phone sits waiting. Look, I don't remember it exactly like that, but whatever. It was like forever ago. People forget about small stuff. The words hang in the air like poison. Small stuff. Daniel's face falls. You can see the pain of betrayal right there, the realization that his suffering meant absolutely nothing to someone he considered a brother. Judge Judy's eyes narrow slightly, dangerously. Small stuff, Mr. Calloway. $2,850 is small stuff to you. Brandon's response reveals everything about who he is and how he sees the world. I mean, technically yeah, I probably do owe it, but it's not like he needs it, you know. He's fine. Still alive, still got a place to live somewhere. So what's the big deal about waiting a little longer? The courtroom erupts in quiet murmurs of disgust. A man in a work uniform crosses his arms. The elderly woman looks at Brandon with open contempt. Judge Judy lets the silence stretch, lets everyone absorb what Brandon just said, lets him stand there having told a working student that his financial devastation doesn't matter. This is when Judge Judy begins her surgical dismantling with calm precision. Mr. Calloway, let's talk about your family's wealth. You mentioned buildings with your name. Tell me more. Brandon straightens, happy to discuss his favorite topic. Yeah, my dad owns Calloway Technologies. The company's worth like $400 million. We have offices in 12 countries. I'm basically set for life. There's pride in his voice, genuine belief that someone else's achievements make him special. Judge Judy leans back, her expression neutral. You're set for life. Interesting. What exactly do you do? What's your occupation? Brandon looks confused. I'm in college. Stanford. Computer science major. Judge Judy nods slowly. So you're a student. Who pays your Stanford tuition? Brandon shifts uncomfortably. My dad pays it. That's what parents do. The courtroom is silent. Everyone senses where this is going. And who pays for your car, clothes, lifestyle, those expensive sneakers? Brandon's voice becomes defensive. My dad. So what? Judge Judy's voice remains perfectly calm, almost conversational. So you personally have no income whatsoever? No job? No business? No source of independent money? Is that correct? Brandon realizes he's being led somewhere he doesn't want to go. I'm a full-time student. Students don't usually work. That's normal. Daniel speaks up quietly from his podium. I work 40 hours a week and go to school full-time. Brandon rolls his eyes dramatically. Yeah, community college. That's not the same thing as Stanford. The gallery gasps audibly at this. The mask is completely off now. Brandon has just revealed his contempt not just for Daniel, but for anyone who isn't at his perceived level. Judge Judy's eyes narrow dangerously. Mr. Calloway, you've spent the last 5 minutes bragging about buildings with your name on them, about your wealth, about how you're set for life. But every single thing you own, every dollar you've spent, every opportunity you've had was paid for by someone else. You haven't earned a single dollar in your entire life. You're not a success. You're an allowance with an attitude problem. The words land like physical blows. Brandon's face flushes red. That's not fair. I'm getting an education. I'm preparing for my future. Just because I don't flip burgers doesn't mean I'm not working. Judge Judy pulls out a manila folder that's been sitting on her bench. Actually, Mr. Calloway, let's talk about your preparation for the future. Do you have a driver's license? The sudden shift in topic catches Brandon off guard. Yeah, of course I do. Why? Judge Judy opens the folder and reads from official-looking documents. How many times has your driver's license been suspended? Brandon's confident posture crumbles slightly. That's not relevant to this case. Judge Judy's voice becomes steel. Answer the question, Mr. Calloway. How many times? Brandon looks down at his expensive sneakers. Twice, he mumbles. Judge Judy reads from the documents in front of her. Suspended the first time when you were 17 years old for street racing on the Pacific Coast Highway. You were clocked at 110 miles per hour in a 55 mile per hour zone. Suspended a second time when you were 18 for driving under the influence. Blood alcohol content of 0.12, well above the legal limit. Both times, the charges were mysteriously reduced from what they should have been. Both times, your father's very expensive lawyers made your problems disappear before they could affect your future. She looks up from the papers. You've actually been arrested 3 times total, Mr. Calloway. 3 separate incidents where you broke the law, endangered other people, and faced no real consequences because Daddy's money made everything go away. The courtroom is dead silent. Brandon stares at the floor, his earlier swagger completely gone, vanished entirely. His hands grip the podium in front of him. Judge Judy continues in that same calm, devastating tone that makes every word cut deeper. And now you stand in my courtroom having stolen from your best friend, someone who trusted you completely, and you have the audacity to tell me it doesn't matter because he's still alive and has a roof over his head. You have the nerve to dismiss his suffering as small stuff, as inconsequential. You genuinely believe that because your father is wealthy, because you were born into privilege, you don't have to keep your promises to people you consider beneath you socially and economically. Brandon tries to recover. Your Honor, with respect, this is getting off track. This is about a loan, not my life story. Can we settle this? Judge Judy's eyebrows rise. Settle this? When you walked in today, what did you expect? Brandon hesitates. I figured we'd talk about the money, I'd pay whatever fine, and that would be it. Judge Judy leans forward. With whose money? Yours or your father's? Brandon's face flushes. Does it matter? Money is money. Judge Judy's voice cuts like a blade. It matters tremendously. You stealing from Daniel then using Daddy's money to pay him back isn't justice. It's moving numbers around while you learn nothing. Judge Judy asks the defining question. Mr. Calloway, what did you say about this courtroom? About me? Brandon looks confused. I don't know what you mean. Judge Judy remains calm. You called this a circus. And you said something specific about embarrassment. Remember? Brandon's color drains. I might have said something. I was frustrated. Judge Judy pulls out her phone. You posted on Instagram while waiting outside. Would you like to read it, or should I? Brandon's eyes widen. That was private. Judge Judy's expression doesn't change. Nothing posted publicly is private. Read it. With shaking hands, Brandon reads his own words. About to sit through the most pointless court case ever. Some kid crying over pocket change. Judge Judy thinks she can lecture me. Newsflash, you can't embarrass me. I've been to the White House. This courtroom is community theater. I'm untouchable. The silence is absolute. Daniel covers his face. Judge Judy takes her phone back. You can't be embarrassed. You're untouchable. Is that what you believe? Brandon's voice cracks. I was venting. Everyone posts stuff they don't mean. Judge Judy shakes her head. No. You meant every word. Her voice remains calm, somehow more devastating. Embarrassment isn't loud or dramatic. Real embarrassment is standing in a room where everyone sees you exactly as you are. No expensive clothes to hide behind. No father's money to shield you. No lawyers to make problems disappear. Just you, exposed, with everyone understanding you're not special, not untouchable. You're just a young man who's never been told no, never faced consequences, who believes being born wealthy makes you better than people who work for money. Brandon tries to speak but Judge Judy continues. Look around, Mr. Calloway. Every person here sees you now. Not as a Calloway. Not as someone headed to Stanford. Not as someone with a bright future. They see a boy who steals from friends, breaks laws and hides behind lawyers, looks down on working people while living off someone else's money. That is embarrassment. You did it to yourself. The gallery remains silent, faces showing universal contempt. Brandon trembles visibly, his expensive outfit suddenly ridiculous, his swagger completely gone. Judge Judy delivers judgment with finality. I find in favor of the plaintiff, Daniel Carroll. You'll pay Daniel Carroll $2,850 immediately for the loan you stole. Because your behavior in this courtroom has been so spectacularly disrespectful, I'm awarding maximum penalty allowed by law. Total judgment, $5,000. Brandon's voice cracks. $5,000? I don't have that. Judge Judy's response is ice. Then earn it. Get a job. Work for it like Daniel does every day. Experience trading your time for money instead of asking daddy for handouts. She continues. This must be paid by you personally within 90 days. Not by your father. If he pays it, I'll hold you in contempt. Brandon looks like he might cry. How am I supposed to earn $5,000 in 90 days? Judge Judy's answer is simple. The same way millions earn money. You work. Maybe at Pizza Hut where Daniel works. Maybe stocking shelves. Maybe you'll finally understand earning something instead of having everything handed to you. Daniel stands straighter, vindicated. Judge Judy looks at Brandon one final time. You walked in believing I couldn't embarrass you. You were wrong. I didn't have to embarrass you. I held up a mirror and let everyone see who you really are. That's the most embarrassing thing of all. The gavel falls. Brandon stumbles toward the door, no longer confident. He's just a young man who finally understands money can't buy respect. Subscribe to Judy's Line of Sight if this reminded you that character matters more than bank accounts. Judge Judy proved you don't need to raise your voice to destroy arrogance. Sometimes all you need is truth spoken calmly. This is what happens when entitlement meets accountability. This is Brandon Calloway's story, a reminder that you can't buy your way out of being a bad person. Hit that like button if you believe everyone should face consequences equally.